Good afternoon, everybody, or good morning, or good evening, wherever you are in the world right now. So, this is the latest from myself at the AMA. We are a few days post-Pitts, we'll just call it. And then we're also a few days now pre-New York. Wanted to talk through my opinion of the Pittsburgh show, partly because we did like a prediction last week, which I think my prediction was pretty good.
It was pretty spot on, to be fair, yeah.
Trying to remember what I predicted.
I think you
said
had...
Derek, Nick.
No, you were right.
Derek, Nick,
it was
Martin.
literally right, because top 5 was right.
Derek, Nick, Martin. Because I didn't count Good Vito in at the time, I forgot he was doing it. But then he didn't do it anyway.
Yeah, he never wound up doing it, yeah.
Exactly, so I must have...
You had Derek, Nick, Martin,
Bonak,
Krizo, which is the top 5.
There you go. Call me...
Almost like you're a bodybuilder or something,
yeah,
you know what you're talking about?
It was apparently like the first time in history that there was actually a tie, and they had to do a third round. It was that Nick and Derek were like posed for an additional third round to see who was the champion. And obviously Derek came out on top, and there was a lot of outcry. There's a lot. And I don't think it's necessarily because of a physical thing. I think it's because of a character thing. I think there's a lot of fans of Nick. He obviously had a bad year last year. He got injured and had to pull out, didn't he, from the hamstring tear or whatever it was. So that really was quite upsetting for him. And then people kind of wrote him off because he narrowly beat Martin in New York last year. So he's basically just been on the receiving end of a lot of shit talk for about a year, hasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Got him called things like Nick Talker and all that, which is so bad for somebody who's one of the best bodybuilders in the world. And, you know, to be able to say, even to an Olympian, let alone number 3 in the world, that they're trash, it's just bad behaviour, isn't it, in all round in bodybuilding. And it's never the good bodybuilders to say, it's with the people that sit at home and keyboard warrior, you know, the warriors that exist in this world right now. But yeah, again, I don't think there was much in it in terms of like the physical. I would say I think I prefer many attributes to Nick, like the graininess, the maturity in the muscle, the separation he has. And then I suppose an argument for Derek would just be like the aesthetics when it comes to like the waist ratio to the shoulders. But you know, Nick's done a tremendous job of balancing out his physique the best he can, considering that he doesn't have those aesthetics. So it could have gone either way for me, but I kind of saw it going the way it did, just because, you know, Derek's fresh off the Arnold Classic win. Now we've got New York coming up. We've got some really good characters going into New York, including a few additional people like Kennedy, who is also known as Colossus Ken, who's really good and obviously didn't do pits, but he's used to be a 212, I think, or he was like under a certain weight when he turned pro. He turned pro quite light, put on a shitload of muscle. So he's one of the people that I'm looking forward to seeing actually on this show, because he looks pretty stacked. But I haven't seen him next to people, but I've met him in person. We were actually with him at the Arnold at the Expo. I think he was on the animal booth, and he's large. So if he's sustained that kind of size and he's in shape, which he looks like he has, then I think he's going to be a pretty impressive debut for him. Can he win it? I'm not sure about that. I don't know if he has the level of muscularity in every area or detail in every area yet, but I certainly see him in the near future being a show winner. He could win a show for sure, it just depends on what show. I think this New York's obviously a big show, so just being honest, I think we're going to have a fight between Nick, probably Sas, Krizo. That's probably like my top 3 for this one. I think it'd be hard for Sass to stand next to Nick's size, even though he has like the same level of conditioning and detail. I think Nick's just huge. If you look at his clavicular width when he just stands upright like that, his shoulders just super wide. And then, so it's going to come down to like Sass versus Krizo, who was win there, because Krizo's a big guy, and they actually share the same weakness essentially. Like their back isn't quite up to the scratch of, say, Nick Walker. So I think Krizo's size could be dominating and maybe almost too much for someone like Sass. But then I think Sass has come in heavier to the show, which potentially could give him that edge, being a little bit fuller to be able to actually beat those guys. So I think right now, like, my top 4 is probably going to be Nick. I'm going to say Sass, even though I think Krizo might get it because he's a little bit more known and a little bit more, he has a bit more of a stature, but I just think Sass is a bit more complete. So Sass, then Krizo, and then I think Colossus Ken. Regan potentially in 5th. Don't know if Regan can take on Ken, actually. Don't know if he can.
It depends how conditioned he comes in.
It does, and it does.
Yeah.
It's a tough one with Regan because he's got kind of younger muscle. It doesn't have that same level of like gnarliness. Yeah. And I suppose if Regan's standing next to someone who has an equivalent amount of muscle but they're a bit more gnarly, My eye is going to be drawn to the gnarly guy, so I'm going to have Regan in 5th, which, considering the level of this show, and most people will watch that and be like, oh, that's shit. No. 5th at a New York Pro with those people that we've just mentioned. You've got Krizo, who's top 8 in the world.
It's stacked.
Yeah, you've got Sass, who's definitely an Olympian level bodybuilder. We've got Nick Walker, who's been 3rd. He's won the Arnold Classic. He's won the New York Pro. Like, to say someone's shit if they come 5th in a pro show of that caliber is just an absolute joke.